In 2016, the people of the United Kingdom voted by a very decisive margin to leave the European Union, previously known as the Common Market, previously known as the European Economic Community. Why did they did so? Well, it's been said that some people did so as a protest vote. It's also been said that some people didn't really understand what they were voting for. And those are kind of ridiculous arguments, because if people are going to vote on a decisive question, it is their responsibility to know what they are voting for. People have their own responsibility to research and find out what it is that they are voting for. And since 2016, people within the UK have been fighting tooth and nail to prevent the expressed will of the majority from taking place. And it's still going on. There have been multiple deadlines. I expect any day now, quite possibly, to hear that the UK is seeking to delay Brexit until the age of Aquarius, in the hope that everybody who voted to leave will have died by then, and then the people will vote for the decision that everybody believes is right. But why did so many people vote to leave the European Union? I was having a discussion about this the other day with someone who told me how much benefit the people of Europe have experienced from being in the European Union. But there are a lot of people who disagree with that. Some people may not realize, most people probably don't realize, that Switzerland is not part of the EU. Switzerland is not part of the EU. And the people of Switzerland have overwhelmingly voted that they do not want to belong to the EU, because they don't want a European Parliament in Brussels telling them what to do. They think they're doing very well on their own, as they always have. And they have one of the better economies, and they have a universal health care system. Some members of the EU have had real problems, or else have not benefited so greatly. They gave Greece a very, very bad deal. It was basically the European Union that imposed severe austerity on Greece, and that austerity got so bad that for a period of time they actually did away with their universal health care system. And the effects on the people of Greece were horrible because of those edicts that were coming out of the European Union. And also, I've read a lot over the years of so many people in Europe who feel they've just been left behind. They are qualified to do all kinds of jobs, but they can't find those jobs. Now, the advantage that you have in countries of Europe, such as Great Britain and France and Germany and other countries, is they do have a much more expansive and much more advanced social welfare system than the United States does. So in that respect, the consequences of being poor are in some ways not necessarily nearly as bad as they are in the United States. But the thing is that people would like to be able to work and do better, and they feel that they've been left behind. Spain has, for instance, struggled with high unemployment for a long time. I already mentioned the problems that have happened in Greece. There is some resentment from the more prosperous countries like Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark over having to prop up Greece. And instead of getting to a situation where Greece could impose something like the Nordic system, they have forced tremendous austerity on Greece, and it's caused a tremendous amount of pain for the people of Greece. Then you have people in Spain and Italy and France who, though they may be getting benefits from a social welfare system, simply can't find work that they are suited to do and are well qualified to do. And at the same time, you do have people from other countries who are just sort of freely coming in and taking a lot of jobs. Now, I won't mention the British network by name, but there is a certain British network that I watch occasionally that I'll turn on to see some news and some other thing. And occasionally I wonder on that network, where are the British people? Isn't it supposed to be the British broadcasting system? And maybe they are citizens. I don't really know. Maybe they were born there or naturalized, but it does kind of raise a question, because I know an awful lot of people in the United Kingdom feel that they have just been left behind and their economic status is just basically frozen, and the European Union hasn't managed to do anything to address that. You know, years go rolling by and people still struggle in a lot of those countries as far as finding meaningful work that they are suited to. And the message from the European Union seems to be, well, suck it up, adjust to the times. And it is not that easy when people have spent their entire lives in certain occupations. It is not that easy to do that at all. It would be much easier for nations to act in their own economic interest. So the reason that some people don't want to be in the European Union is they just feel they've been left behind, and they don't see much prospect for a brighter future, and they think that they might do better if their countries were more independent. Now, if Brexit does happen, there are going to be some economic dislocations in the UK, and that might go on for quite some time. But there are still a lot of people who feel that the leaders in Great Britain may be able to build a better future free from the European Union. Eventually. There will be dislocation and there will be problem. But an interesting thing happened in the run-up to World War I. Britain had become so married to this idea of free trade that they essentially lost their industrial base. And when World War I broke out, they had to go through a rapid period of reindustrialization in order to get what they needed to fight the war, to get the hardware that they needed to fight the war, because British industry had been so decimated in this era of free trade that they couldn't produce the armaments they needed. And so they had to undergo a rapid period of reindustrialization. And something like that may be necessary in the wake of Brexit, if it ever occurs. But, you know, for far too long, this business of people within the countries of the European Union just getting left behind and feeling that they don't have any hope, that's gone on for far too long, and it's never been really addressed. And the fact that there is this huge common market seems to have still left a lot of people behind who ought to be getting ahead. And that is the basic problem. And if the countries of the European Union aren't going to figure that out, if the European Union itself isn't going to figure that out, maybe sovereign nations can. There was an economist known as Frederick List who talked about the importance of autarky. And basically, List said that a country needed to be economically as independent as possible. And he said that that was the way to have the best chance of prosperity for most people within that country. And I think he was probably right, because it's gone on for far too long, this business of European citizens getting left behind in their own countries. People are tired of it in the UK. They want something to change. And it may come with Brexit. It'll take time. There will be economic dislocations, but they could develop an aggressive national program to fix that eventually, I believe. And it's also important to remember that the UK wouldn't be totally alone. They have the United States to trade with, they have China to trade with, and they also have the Commonwealth, the countries of the Commonwealth, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and various other countries. There's the Commonwealth, there's the United States, there is China. So it may not really be as necessary in the long term for the UK to be integrated into a European economy as people think that it is. But people have gotten thoroughly tired of being left behind in Britain, and they want something to be done about it. And if the EU isn't going to ever fix that problem, then maybe they should look to their own government to fix the problem. And in that situation, they can apply pressure through elections to Westminster. If one group doesn't fix it, then they can force them out and put a different group in without having to worry about what happens in Brussels, Belgium. They can apply direct pressure to the British government and the British Parliament without having to worry that something that happens in Brussels, Belgium is going to get in the way. So I do hope for those reasons that Brexit actually does happen. The big question, if it does happen, is will the British government develop a massive national program to sort of re-engineer their society, because that's what they're going to have to do. But I think they should be have that chance to do so. I think it's time to try it, because there are too many people who have been left behind in the European Union for entirely too long. They're tired of it, and they want something to change. And if the EU Parliament and bureaucrats aren't going to fix that problem, then they need to be able to force their own national government to address those problems. And so there you have it, my opinion on Brexit as of October 2019. Have a very good day.